some people are against the appetite suppressants. You know, that's cheating, it's cheating. I'm not playing Major League Baseball. I'm just a fat guy trying to not die.
We are back with Jim Gaffigan bringing the laughs when it comes to popular weight loss drugs in his recent comedy special, and we are focusing on them this morning in Your Health.
We talk about this a lot. Ozempic, Wegovy, the help they've been giving to people looking to shed pounds. But what is the next frontier for those drugs? Those are the other areas where they may just offer life-changing benefits. And joining us with everything we need to know and what science has found so far, NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar. So we're seeing, obviously, the weight loss effect is real. It's originally a diabetes drug, so we know about those effects. But now there are these sort of ancillary effects, and scientists are wondering, is it connected to this drug?
Right. So first, let's just establish that we know that obesity is related to a whole host of significant medical issues, right? This is not new news for everyone, but heart disease, type 2 diabetes, lung disease like sleep apnea, arthritis, and certain cancers. So we know that those can be what we call obesity related. But what about an obesity independent mechanism that these medications could have? We know that the medicines work in a variety of different biological mechanisms. And so for that reason, they really have become this hot therapeutic target for a whole host of other disease. And what is that mechanism? It's probably by targeting inflammation. If you take a look at, let's say, a graphic or a picture of all the different places where that GLP-1, the target of these medicines, where it's biologically active, it is active in so many different organs and so many different organ systems, really exerting this inflammatory effect. And that's kind of where these medicines will have a place.
So we know the FDA has now gone ahead with approvals for the use of these weight loss drugs beyond weight loss and beyond type 2 diabetes right now. What are those approvals that are already in place?
Right. So in December of last year, Zepbound got an approval to treat sleep apnea in people who have moderate to severe sleep apnea. Last March, Wegovy was approved to treat heart disease and decrease the risk of cardiovascular death, heart attack, and stroke in people who had established heart disease. And then just in January, Ozempic was approved to reduce the risk of worsening kidney disease, kidney failure, as well as cardiovascular death in people who had type 2 diabetes and chronic kidney disease.
So now doctors are, it's amazing. Yeah. The doctors are also hearing all this anecdotal evidence, like, oh, I also didn't want to drink anymore. I didn't want to gamble anymore, or it helped my mother's Alzheimer's. Are any of those things being studied?
Right now, there are over 200 clinical trials that are either ongoing or have been completed. And take a look. And again, this speaks to sort of the versatility of this GLP-1 hormone. It is being studied in Alzheimer's disease, in liver disease, in addiction disorders. Remember, there's also that reward system in the brain that the medicine targets, obesity-related cancers, knee pain, arthritis, fertility, and polycystic ovarian syndrome. And just, I think, kind of as a neat sort of anecdote, I'm a rheumatologist. I see patients with chronic inflammatory diseases, and I treat them with a whole host of really, really powerful medicines. And not until some of my patients have gotten on these medicines was I finally able to see a reduction in their what's called systemic inflammation in spite of all of our treatments. And that was one of the first light bulbs, at least, that went on for us in the rheumatology world, that these medications are going to have applications far beyond diabetes and weight.
So that raises the question some people may be asking, which is, can you use these off-label?
So we know, and we've covered this a lot on the show, how difficult it is to get the medication for the indicated purposes. So I think what happens a lot is that patients have to sort of get the medicine for an indicated reason, like type 2 diabetes, and that's sort of as a collateral benefit, we are seeing a reduction in certain other symptoms, whether it's knee pain from arthritis, PCOS, and things like that.
And they're expensive, too, let's remember. But some people are looking at this, I mean, I think it's an anti-aging drug in some ways, like a legit longevity increaser.
Well, let's think about it this way. Longevity is not just about living longer. It's about preventing these age-related illnesses, neurodegenerative conditions, cardiovascular disease, cancer. These are the big killers. These are the things that we associate with getting older. So if we can start to help to prevent sort of the early steps of those chronic illnesses, there is the theoretical longevity. That obviously hasn't been proven yet, but that's kind of the telescope into the future.
It's fun. All right, Dr. Azar, thank you very much.
Reason for hope. We appreciate it.
For a brief moment, it felt like the world was finally catching up. Plus size women were visible. Fashion brands expanded their sizing. We were hearing words like body neutrality, health at every size, and confidence without apology. Fat bodies weren't just tolerated, they were styled, centered, and celebrated. And then, almost overnight, thin became trendy again. Not because the science changed, not because fat bodies suddenly became unhealthy, but because Ozempic culture had arrived. And with it came a quiet shift. What started as medication for diabetes and obesity turned into a cultural marker. Shrinking is praised, staying the same gets questioned, and opting out starts to feel like rebellion. You can see it everywhere. Plus size models getting fewer bookings, brands quietly rolling back extended sizing, influencers reframing weight loss as discipline, growth, evolution. And the message underneath all of it sounds like this: if you could get smaller and you don't, what does that say about you? Let's be honest. Weight loss, especially pharmaceutical weight loss, is being framed as moral superiority. Thinness equals effort. Remaining fat equals failure. And that ignores reality. Obesity isn't about willpower alone. It's shaped by genetics, hormones, trauma, stress, medications, aging, chronic illness, real life. Yet fat bodies are still treated like public projects. Always commented on, always advised, always judged. One voice in our community said it best: I take medication for my blood pressure. I take medication for my weight. Only one of those things gets me shamed. And here's the part nobody wants to talk about. In January 2026, a major review published in the British Medical Journal looked at over 9,000 people using weight loss medications. The takeaway: the drugs work while you're on them. But once people stop, most regain the weight within 18 months. And the weight comes back faster than with diet and exercise alone. Even blood pressure and cholesterol return to where they started. So the real question becomes: solution for how long? And at what cost? Meanwhile, plus size women are feeling a new kind of pressure, not just to change, but to disappear. To stay bookable, to stay desirable, to stay quote unquote healthy enough to be respected. Even inside body positive spaces, the rules feel shaky. If you lose weight, you're praised for taking care of yourself. If you don't, you're accused of refusing help. Choice becomes conditional. Acceptance becomes temporary. And for faith-rooted communities, this moment cuts even deeper. Has shrinking the body become the new salvation story? Have we confused transformation with disappearance? Faith teaches us that bodies aren't problems to be solved. They're vessels to be honored. Wellness doesn't have to mean becoming smaller. Sometimes wellness looks like peace with food, mobility, joyful movement, access to care, and dignity at every size. At Fantabulous Magazine, we hold space for nuance. Our bodies were never a trend. Some people use GLP-1 medications and feel real relief. Some use them temporarily. Some choose not to for cost, side effects, faith, and personal autonomy. All of those choices are valid. What's not valid is using access to medication as a measure of worth. So here's what we refuse to do. We refuse to shame people for using medication. We refuse to shame people for not using it. We refuse to pretend thinness equals health. And we refuse to disappear fat bodies from culture again. Body liberation was never about staying the same forever. It was about choice without punishment. Thinness may be trending again, but our bodies were never a trend, and we're still here.